For the past couple weeks, I've been reading some, let's just call it questionable / embarrassing articles on the internet about how apparently Dragon Ball Super is going to turn into being worse than GT, entirely based upon 1, maybe 2 episodes. And guys, it's way too soon for people to say that Super is going to be quote unquote worse than GT. But then I got to thinking, wait a minute. Was GT really that bad? Joining me for this video, I want to introduce a man who controversy creates cash, and this man has tons of it. He's like Scrooge McDuck here, the legendary HAIL ZEON, and we're talking about whether or not GT deserves a second look.
Thank you, D.
One of the things about, your opinion about GT, I'm gonna let you just give it out here, but people always criticize GT, and immediately, when you talk about GT, the first thing they say is, oh, well, it's not canon, it's not canon.
Yeah.
But in my opinion, just because something is not canon does not automatically mean that it sucks. And that's been a problem with everything.
Well, definitely. I mean, you have so many people who will go out and, like, defend the filler. Yeah, they're like, oh, Kai is shit. They like the filler back. That wasn't canon, quote, quote. They'll jerk off Broly's, Super Saiyan dick. That's not canon, quote, quote. But GT was fucking garbage.
The thing about GT is that, yes, I mean, before we go any further, yes, GT's not perfect. GT does have inconsistencies.
Oh, not by a long shot.
Exactly. It's got inconsistencies. It's got plot holes, but so does Dragon Ball, like the manga, the anime, especially the anime. So I think that I want to talk to you about GT. Do you feel that GT from the fan base, do you think that it deserves to have a second look, and why?
Most definitely. The reason I think so is that, people really lambast the hell out of GT. I don't think they really give it a fair shot. They hear the rumors, they know it's not made by Toriyama, and they just horribly criticize it. And I'm not going to say that a lot of those criticisms aren't valid. They're holding GT up to a standard that they don't hold Dragon Ball Z up to. Because, Dragon Ball Z is put up on this pedestal as this perfect being, this paragon of writing in the shonen action genre, and GT is just treated as this garbage series, and like those pick out any little flaw, even though the things that they're pointing at are things that are wrong with Z as well, and not like Z doesn't have its own unique issues. I
agree, and actually, and we're going to talk about some of the good things about GT here. Now, I did do a video, the 5 good things about GT, or my 5 favorite things about GT, but there are more. And the thing that kind of is bugging me lately is that people are, saying, Super's going to be worse than GT. And like I said, first of all, it's way too soon to tell. You can't pass judgment yet, number 1. Number 2, are there things about Super that are disappointing? Absolutely. You've talked about it on your videos. And by the way, everybody, go subscribe now. I'll put the link down below. Click, subscribe, watch all his videos, marathon them right now. Well, no, not right now. Pause it.
Listen to us talk and then go subscribe.
And then go subscribe, there you go. But like and to me, like, they say that, well, Super has slow pacing. GT also started out slow. I mean, to me, it wasn't until like episode 15, 16 that we really got like story, with General Ruldo and the Machine Mutants and all that. But we still had Legic.
Yeah. Well, like, my whole thing is, like, people seem to grade, like, a Dragon Ball series by how quickly does the fight start. GT's story does get rolling from the very first episode. The very first episode of GT, you're caught up with all the characters from where you left off with them, after the 5-year gap. You get the whole concept with the Black Star Dragon Balls. Goku's turned to a kid, and he now has to go on this quest in the space. All that's in the first episode. We have the premise for the first arc to launch the series off of. Super doesn't even have that. Super had Goku on a farm and, like, getting some money.
Having wet dreams
Lieutenant
about
Trunks
fighting.
Punching a snake.
Now, let me ask you a question, all right? Because I was doing some research on this, and the ratings patterns for GT really dropped after episode 2. Do you feel, in your opinion, had they not turned Goku into a kid, do you think this show would have thrived a lot better and be remembered better?
I'm not sure, because I've never had a problem with Kid Goku. I mean, I love Dragon Ball. Like, the original Dragon Ball, I think is a fantastic series. It's my favorite of all the Dragon Ball series so far. The original is my favorite. Yeah. And I love Kid Goku. So, him being turned to a kid never bothered me.
But did you think, okay, in your opinion, did you think that maybe at that point, maybe, like, in the eyes of, like, the general public?
It may have turned some people off.
Yeah, because they were so far gone from that,
I mean, like, you start the series off, Goku's a kid. Vegeta's got a flat top and a mustache. Thanks Toriyama for that design, by the way.
Yeah, that was Toriyama.
No one ever wants to admit that, by the way.
No, people have this weird thought that Toriyama had nothing to do with GT when that's not the
you can't blame Toei for that one.
And he wound up shaving it anyways. So, all right, now for the people who I'm sure we have people who have never seen GT, and here's my thing to the community. All right, if you want to give it another shot, definitely give it another shot. And so I wanted to ask you, Zeon, what do you like about GT? Why do you defend GT? Like, what is it about GT that you think people need to give a second look to, specifically?
Okay. I think it does a lot of interesting things conceptually with its world building, because, I felt like Toriyama kind of got lazy with its introduction of villains later on. Like, Majin Buu pretty much comes out of nowhere. It's like, oh, well, what is he? Well, he's this thing that's always kind of existed. Okay, well, where is he? Oh, well, he just so happens to be on Earth. Okay. Beers rolls, he does beers, and it's kind of the same thing where it's just like, oh, well, he's just always been around. Well, where's he been? Well, he's been sleeping.
Yeah.
He just kind of pulls out these bigger, stronger enemies out of nowhere and just kind of drops them in and just says, well, they've always been here. You just didn't know it.
Or what about how Sorbet and Tagoma have been in space for the past 15 years and didn't even think about reviving Frieza until now?
Right. Well, I mean, they did kind of cover that up in the movie, saying that they were looking for new Namek, but...
Yeah, but did it take them that long? I mean... I don't know. They have the technology to rebuild a person from a million pieces, but they can't find a planet. I don't know, bro. This is...
Dude, the galaxy's big.
Well, yeah, exactly. And who knows which galaxy they were looking in? Because there's a theory that Namek's in East Galaxy, which I'm not going to get into right now, but...
I think people should definitely look more into, like, how it... Because, people kind of get really upset with the presentation of the characters and, like... But, like, how they develop as people I've always found really interesting. Because, like, I like Pan as a character. I like, Goten being, just kind of a bit of a playboy now, and, they stopped training. But that's something that Toriyama did to these characters before he ended Z. And I don't think that's a fault of GT.
No, I mean, the only thing you could pretty much blame GT for is kind of the overuse of Pam. Like, did you feel that Pam was kind of overused? Because, I mean, personally, I never hated Pam, but I did feel that she was exposed too much in the Shadow Dragon arc. I did think they kind of pushed her too hard.
They definitely tried to make it the Goku and Pan show.
Yes.
Because, and that's definitely what they were going for, because, Pan was the new fresh blood of the series. Kind of like with the Majin Buu arc, they tried to put Goten and Trunks in the forefront a lot.
Yeah.
And I feel like they were trying possibly to recapture that, because, it's, like I said, it's the new fresh blood. But I think, like, something, like, a lot, because, like, GT's villains, I think, are really good. Like, Baby, I think, is the best villain of the entire franchise. Like, he is, his origin is rooted... I mean, they took a filler episode of Dragon Ball Z, and then used that as the platform to build an entire story arc off of, and create this really unique, dynamic, multi-layered villain. Something that the type of villain that I don't think Toriyama would even try to create.
Well, it's funny because a lot of people don't know, and I've said this on previous videos, but Toriyama did create the Sufurujin.
Yeah, he created them.
Yeah, but not Baby. But you're right, because Baby, the thing about Baby that always was cool, there's two things that I always loved about Baby. And again, the one thing I will say about GT is that if you're going to watch GT again, be patient. Like, I know some people criticize how slow it starts out, which I think, it's debatable. But when you get to the Baby saga, there's a lot of good stuff there, because I feel that Baby actually had, like, a legitimate beef. Like, you could make an argument that this guy... I kind of understand where he's coming from. He's just getting revenge for people. Plus, he had the ability to, like, go inside you like a virus. Like, he's kind of doing what Beerus's original concept kind of sort of was,
Yeah, definitely. I mean, he was, like, kind of doing that whole corruption thing, manipulating and controlling people. And the thing is, he had a legitimate beef. Any other storyline, he would have been the hero.
Yes, but because we love Goku.
Right. It's just, and even like Vegeta gives no fucks whenever he sees Baby. He's just like, oh, a Sufurian, whatever. I'll just destroy you like the scum you are. Like, he doesn't feel a single bit of remorse for what his people have done to his.
Did you think the Super 17 arc was fan servicey?
A bit, yeah. I mean, it was definitely, it was definitely just like a quick little fan servicey arc to use as the platform to kick off the Evil Dragons arc, definitely.
And then I was going to ask you about that, because the Evil Dragons arc is very polarizing, because one hand you'll have some fans say, well, the Z Fighters are nowhere to be found, it's all the Goku show, it's Goku time. But on the other hand, you'll have the dragons who are just kind of badass. They all look different, they all have different powers, but we never really get to see those powers explored to their full potential. Like, to me, bro, like, my opinion of GT is, I think it does get unfairly shat on, but one of the criticisms that I think is valid is the fact that they kind of build up this incredible like idea, but they never give you a good delivery. That's the way I always saw it.
GT is a series with fantastic ideas and faulty execution. You know, my thing with Z is kind of the reverse. So I think, you know, Z, I think Z has, you know, kind of simple, slightly more shallow ideas, but it has, you know, these great, you know, execution moments, and, you know, and has these big payoffs, you know, these great pop moments, where GT kind of lacked that, and because it doesn't, or because, you know, it lacks that payoff for some people, you know, people just don't appreciate like some of the more interesting storytelling elements, and it kind of is brushed off because, you know, it isn't DBZ enough for them. It's not like basically quote cool enough.
Yeah, and the animation, that's another one too, because I think the animation in GT looks great, but some people are really bothered by Goku's mysterious tan, which I don't dislike it. I actually think that like the fight scenes are pretty damn good. I mean, I really do think they're fantastic, and it's very colorful. I mean, I never had an issue watching it at all.
Yeah, me neither. I mean, I've always liked the way, like, you know, GT looked in general. I mean, you know, whenever you get to like stuff like Studio Live House or whatever, or Last House, like, you know, yeah, those episodes look terrible, but every episode of like that they've ever made for any Dragon Ball series looks terrible. So.
Is it as bad as episode 5 of Super though? You damn near had a heart attack in that video, bro.
Honestly, I think I bitched about the animation that episode way less than most people did. Like, I brought it up. I was like, yeah, the animation is shit, and I dropped it, and I just started bitching about the narrative and the pacing.
Yeah, and the damn fight was annoying, but no, I'll tell you one thing: that fight was worse than anything in GT. Well, I honestly feel that.
Definitely. God, that was a waste of animation. Is what that was.
Why didn't it get shit on so much? Is it just the Toriyama element?
I think it's the Toriyama element. I do think, you know, there are some weird power scaling things, you know, and you know, there is the Kid Goku thing, and I think it's just the negative reputation it had. Like, because there are a lot of people who haven't even seen GT who are gonna shit on it.
That's right.
And I think it's not fair.
Yeah, and if you're out there and you haven't seen GT, give it a try. Like, it's not Z. It doesn't start out that fast of a pace, but it gets pretty good. I like the creativity in the villains, dude.
There's a lot of creativity going on. Like, a lot of... Because one of the things I really appreciate is that, like, everything that they do as far as, like, introducing story concepts, it's building off of pre-established concepts. You know, they bring back the Sufurians, and then, you know, Dr. Mew dies in that arc. And then you go to Hell, and Mew meets Gero, and then that leads into the Super 17 arc. The whole Gateway to Hell thing is what causes the Dragon Balls to crack. And then it goes back to that line that Elder Kaioshin said from the end of Z about not abusing the Dragon Balls. And they take that one little line, and they give it so much more meaning in GT because, oh, this is what he meant. You know, the balls have been corrupted, they're cracked, and now we've unleashed this horrible evil on the world.
Yeah, it's like a good narrative. It actually
mostly.
the story.
Most definitely. It's just, I don't think they had enough time to really flesh out a lot of their concepts. I felt like they were kind of like, I think they were just kind of pushed to like get it out there too quickly, and they didn't get enough time to like flesh out the ideas that they wanted to do.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think if they got canceled and then they had to rush it, because you can tell that the Shadow Dragon arc, the evil Shenlong arc is definitely rushed like crazy.
Yeah.
But other than that, it's a lot of enjoyable stuff. So yeah, folks, give GT a try, and more importantly, give HAIL ZEON a try. Go to his channel right now. Watch his super reviews every single week until he has an aneurysm and can't do them anymore. Right? And definitely unique content for sure. I'll catch y'all down the road.